Hello, my name is Garvin, and I read things and ramble about them on the internet for your entertainment. So, as we head into December, I am wrapping up the year 2024 AD with a look at the history of certain races from the 1990 science fiction show Babylon 5. Before I jump in, I do want to thank my ever-wise patrons for their continued support, and I just want to mention you can join their ranks for as little as $1 a month and get votes on upcoming content, as well as make suggestions. I have 3 active polls for you to vote on as of the recording of this video. The link is in the description below. This week, we're dealing with the Narn Regime, and we're only using sources canon to the show, so let's get to it. The Narn developed as a mostly peaceful and agrarian people in their homeworld, but about 1,000 years ago from the start of the show, so around Earth year 1260 AD, the galaxy intruded on that peace, when an elder race known as the Shadows began using the southern continent of Narn as a base. If you don't know who the Shadows are, don't worry, I will get to them eventually, or you could just watch the television show. I really encourage you to do that. Getting back to the Narn though. From there, the Shadows waged war on more technologically advanced races in the galaxy. Basically, the Shadows were seeking to tear down galactic civilization and burn everything. While they were on Narn, the Shadows also hunted the native psychics in the Narn population, or Mindwalkers as the Narn called them. During this period, a leader arose from the Narn named Swan, and he sought to unify the Narn to cast out their invaders. He had a difficult time of this because, quite likely due to shadow activity, food was scarce, so the various clans and families of the Narn actually hoarded and competed over food rather than cooperating, which was not only to the Shadows' benefit, but is a behavior they're known to encourage, and I will talk more about that when I do a video on the Shadows. To combat this, Swan started small, first by starting a ritual where he would invite many Narn from different groups to come to a gathering, asking each of them to bring a vegetable that they would drop into an enormous cauldron of boiling water he set up, and thus create a sort of communal soup that would be shared out equally to everyone attending the gathering. He used this to create a sense of shared community and purpose that he built into a working resistance. He also received aid from mysterious beings of light called the Jalan, and with the help of the remaining Narn Mindwalkers, the Jalan, and the now united Narn communities, threw the Shadows off his world. And he would record all of this in the Book of Swan. In the process, he became a prophet and a holy figure among the Narn, one of many. The Narn have a number of religions and spiritual systems in the show, and it seems like most of them are based on mortal prophetic leaders. The rough comparison would be to human figures like Moses, Muhammad, or even the Buddha. After successfully ejecting the Shadows, the Narn would settle into a mostly isolationist stance, although, according to the sources, they did have something of a space program, and there are even accounts of them having off-world colonies when the Centauri showed up in the Earth year 2109. The Narn welcomed them with open arms, and found collars slapped around their necks in response. The Centauri had dreams of using Narn's resources and its people's labors to fuel a climb back into power, and if the Narn objected to this, well, that was unfortunate for the Narn. The Narn would also try to rewrite Narn history, claiming themselves to be the benefactors of the Narn who cooked them to space in the first place. And the Narn would resist that story as much as they did their physical enslavement. The Narn would quickly organize a resistance and fought the Centauri relentlessly. and the Centauri reacted by striking back harshly and trying to clamp down as hard as they could. This only fueled Narn resistance, and much like the Centauri did against the Shogun and other enemies, the Narn started using and reverse engineering the technology of their enemies to use against them. They also used guerrilla warfare, sabotage, and other tactics in order to wear down the Centauri. Finally, in 2231, 3 years after the start of the Dilgar War, and you can learn more about that in my Earth Alliance video, by the way, the Centauri gave up and withdrew from Narn. This wasn't enough for the Narn, however. The Narn regime would be set up to govern the Narn and to pursue vengeance over everything else. A governing body known as the Kari was created. It had 8 layers called circles. The topmost layer had 8 members and served as an executive branch of sorts. The second layer had 16 members and served as advisors to the first. The third had 12 members and was made up of ambassadors who split their time between the homeworld and their diplomatic post. The fourth layer was made up of their senior general and military leaders. The fifth and sixth layers composed of regional governors on the homeworld or on colony worlds, with the 7th and 8th layers of the Kari made up of scholars responsible for maintaining the histories and tradition of the Narn people, since they took that very seriously, since those very histories and traditions had come under concentrated Centauri attack. The Narn regime was militarist and expansionist, seeking to increase their living space, especially since the Centauri had laid waste to their world due to strip mining and a complete disregard for the Narn environment, and increase their resources to build their war machine for the final reckoning against the Centauri. This led to haste and to mistakes, though, for example, the Narn were actually the first to encounter the insectoid race known as the Gaim, who lived in a world with a thick, misty atmosphere, and as a result had no real idea that there were even other worlds out there. So when the Narn landed on their homeworld, it was a huge, out-of-context problem. Now, to be fair to the Narn, they thought this world was uninhabited, and when Gaim warriors showed up to make their mistake clear, the Narn withdrew without pursuing further adventures and handled the matter diplomatically, introducing the Gaim to the galaxy, and they would go on to join the League of Unaligned Worlds. Outside of events like this, though, Narn foreign policy remains centered on one thing: revenge on the Centauri, which they believe they will achieve by wiping out every last Centauri, much like the Centauri did to the Zon. And I'm going to stop here because the next phase of Narn history is actually the events of the show itself, and I really want you to watch Babylon 5. So, sorry, go watch the show. That said, I hope you found this video informative, or at least entertaining. If so, please comment, or leave a like, or even consider subscribing. All these help me in my eternal struggle against the Dread Lord Algorithm. Terror be on his name. I like to give a special thanks to Big Steve, my biggest supporter. I hope you're still enjoying these videos, man. Next week, we're going to look at the unofficial history of the Narn regime, where we'll delve into topics the Kyrie might prefer we did not reveal to public scrutiny. I hope you'll join me, but until then, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and of course, keep reading.